Mechanics of Reddit. What seemingly inconsequential thing do drivers do on a regular basis that is very damaging to their car? Actual mechanic here. I will say one thing I see quite a bit that you may not know is when people almost exclusively take short trips, never allowing their vehicles to get up to temp, and always babying their car, especially direct injection engines. It's important for your vehicle to get up to operating temperature, and also for you to flog it from time to time. Failure to do so will result in large amounts of carbon deposits on your intake valves. Carbon deposits can build to the point where your car will not run correctly. This can be dealt with by driving the hell out of it from time to time. Some customers end up paying us good money to take their car out for them and beat the hell out of it, knocking the carbon off the valves. If it's too bad, we have to take off the intake and clean them manually. Happens about once a week. Source: professional mechanic. Went to college for automotive technology. As certified master technician. Not change your oil regularly. Not a mechanic. But not stopping when you change from reverse to drive after you back up will screw up your transmission. Source: my dad learned to drive by trying to be quick and not smart, and I've had to replace his transmissions 3 times in 10 years. Now, my mom drives and she's more careful. I'm a mechanic. Having the right tire pressures is one thing you need to check. Will cause uneven tire wear and cause you a lot of money in the long run. Not stopping while shifting from reverse to drive or drive to reverse. Delaying your oil change until the light comes on will over time mess up your engine. Riding the brakes can cause too much heat and crack the pads. Not flushing fluids can cause build-up in the systems. Actually saw a Dodge Ram that never had the coolant flushed and he was running on rusted water. There's some examples. Driving through deep puddles after hard braking. It will warp your rotors every single time. Edit. For those claiming this is wrong referencing the Stop Tech article, regrettably you are spreading false information. We used the term warped rotors typically to refer to both uneven wear and distortions. The article you reference only talks about excessive heat under normal air cooling, not rapid cooling. Rapid cooling can distort the metal, even when cast iron is used. Do you get Pringle-shaped rotors? No. Can you get distortions that lead to vibration? Yes. Do the rotors technically warp? That's hard to say. Is a crack a warp? Is a spot where the metal is slightly higher a warp? I mean, it's not the whole rotor, but locally one would have to say yes. Basically we get into semantics between layman's terms and professional terms. Bottom line that everybody should be able to agree on is: hot rotors in puddles lead to braking vibrations. http www.ebay.com GDS How to prevent brake rotor warping 10000000178258938/G. HTML. http www.castingoncollector.com damage. PHP. Stop Tech article. They are referencing that is correct, but not related to this specific instance. http www.stoptech.com technical support, technical white papers, warped brake disc and other myths. Driving with cold engines. Riding the clutch. Not driving their car hard enough. Carbon buildup is a huge issue, particularly with direct injection. Not doing regular oil changes. No tire rotations. Just plain ignorance. Cause don't like if it ain't broke. Don't fix it, ignorance isn't bliss. It's expensive down the road. Hanging a load of shit off of your keychain can actually damage your ignition coil. Edit. As many have pointed out, I typed the wrong word. It's ignition switch, not coil. Mea culpa. I'm only a hobbyist mechanic who absent-mindedly finishes phrases incorrectly due to autopilot. Not a mechanic. But topping off your gas tank can ruin a device called the evap purge valve. From my understanding, it has something to do with equalizing the pressure in the gas tank when the car slows down or is at a stop. It cost me about $350 to have it fixed. Riding your brakes down a steep hill. Running your car low on fuel. Bad for the fuel pump. Driving on unsafe tires and improper air pressure. Driving on bald tires will not directly damage your car, but the truck, wall, tree, etc. you plow into when you hydroplane will do serious damage. Don't skimp on tires. Check your tire pressure regularly. It will help your tires last longer. The pressure will change with the weather. A tire set in the summer may be too low in the winter. Any tips on keeping a car battery healthy? I am paranoid that one day my car won't start, especially with winter approaching soon. No one has said this, but seriously, people let their interior get dirty and dirt and coke and chips and shit get in the electrical connectors and caused problems lol. Dumping transmission from neutral to drive while revving the engine. No mechanic, but I was told on a lot of older cars the fuel pump is cooled by the fuel in the gas tank. I also have heard that they have fixed this on newer cars, but I couldn't tell you when they started fixing this. Point of the matter. When you run your car low on fuel consistently, for instance running it on 1/4 of a tank all the time, your fuel pump is not being cooled properly and has to work a bit harder to get the fuel and therefore wears much faster than if you had more fuel in the car consistently. Flooring it when you're at low RPM puts a lot of strain on the engine, particularly in forced induction cars. Puts a lot of stress on the connecting rods. Revving higher actually puts less stress in the engine. Edit. I'm not talking about revving above redline where the engine wasn't designed to go. That will obviously be bad. Mechanics and non-mechanics of Reddit, thank you for all the advice here. I just started to drive last year, and I am not a very technical guy when it comes to cars. So what is the basic list of essentials that I should keep an eye for? 1. Change oil on time. 2. Rotate tires every years. Make the list. Also, would you suggest a good app to keep track of the car requirements? Driving on low tire pressure is a big one that a ton of folks do. It ruins the tire's walls and makes dangerous sidewall blowouts more likely. Also, when you fill up your tires, do not listen to the C embossed on the tire itself. That is the pressure you'd be inflating the tire to if you're hauling heavy loads. It is the maximum pressure the tire can hold. Look for a number inside your driver's side door frame or consult the manual for the non-load bearing C. Also, make sure your tires are balanced and bolted on correctly. Unbalanced and loose tires can make your steering wheel vibrate at certain speeds, and it causes bad uneven tire wear, usually swooping cup-shaped wear. This isn't a hugely rampant issue, but totally a thing to be aware of. 1. Starting your car before fuel pump finishes charge. 2. Not letting oil get around before changing gears, warming up. 3. Not letting car idle out in park before shutting car off. These things destroy cars and are very easy to avoid. I know this will be buried a little late. Buy cars with no intention of taking care of them. If you can't afford $500,000 a year in routine maintenance or repairs, then you can't afford a car. As said elsewhere in this thread, the little things add up. Take care of it right away. Cars are a responsibility just like a house or apartment. Read any sub manual. In cold weather, don't warm up your engine while parked. You're supposed to drive the car very slowly immediately after you start your engine. The engine should warm while you are driving, not while it's parked. As the engine gets warmer, you can increase your speed. Not a mechanic. Parking outside in the sun exposed to the elements regularly. People ask me how it is my cars that are over 10 years old look new. Part of it is because I park in a garage at home, as opposed to accumulating boxes in my garage, and park at a parking garage at work. That is, when I drive to work, sun fades paint, peels some clear coats, loosens plastic fastenings, releases glue, causing issues like drooping headliners, and eventually leads to faded, peeling, and cracked interiors. Usually, I see people park their cars outside because of all the junk they keep in their garages. Or they park in the parking garage when it rains because they don't want to be exposed to the elements. But not usually when it's sunny. Naturally, I do park outside when I go places there is no other option. But I prefer covered parking where possible. I also admit it's not possible in some cases. Though in those cases sun covers and such can help. Edit. Forgot some punctuation there. I strongly recommend transmission services every 30-50k depending on driving style. Gladly pay $170 to change trans fluid over the $2,000 minimum transmission rebuild and install. Specific question for mechanics. Holding down your clutch pedal while coasting and waiting at red lights prematurely wears out your release bearing. But never more quickly than your clutch itself wears out. And it would take a spectacular idiot not to replace the release bearing during a clutch job. In effect, are you really hurting a damn thing holding down your clutch pedal during coasting or stopped lights? This seems like a good place to mention parking brakes. I feel like I'm the only one in my friend group who uses my parking brake. Even if I'm not on an incline. Am I just paranoid of a shitty transmission? Not having the car do that little rock back and forth between putting it in park and letting off the brake is so satisfying to me. As someone who isn't a mechanic and knows little to nothing about cars, just follow the manual and we'll be fine. When you park on a hill, you'll stop with your foot on the brake. Set the e-brake firmly, then release your foot from the pedal. This puts the weight of the car on the e-brake, not the transmission. Although the transmission is fully capable of holding the weight of the car. The key is then when you go to drive the car later. Reverse order. Foot on brake, then release e-brake, then into gear. So the weight transfers from e-brake to pedal. Not e-brake to transmission or transmission to pedal. This prevents the loud and jarring thud when you shift from park. Really bothers me is when people turn on their cars and instantly start revving at high RPMs. Without allow your engine and oil to warm up, you can cause some fatal damage. I'm sorry, but I'm very confused here. One person says idle the engine after starting it. Another person says no need and just start driving. What is the answer? Truck driver here. Dry turns are bad for your vehicle. Cranking the wheel while being absolutely stationary. And switching from reverse to drive, or vice versa, without coming to a complete stop first. Thinking that a modern engine needs to sit and idle to warm up. The manufacturer recommendation for my Toyota Yaris is to drive normally, without racing the engine. When the engine is cold, the engine will reach its optimal temperature quicker from normal driving than from idling. Check your tires are correctly inflated and the tread is good condition. Correctly scheduled oil changes, obviously depending on usage. Age of the car. Manufacturer's recommendations. Driving with the same style all the time. Direct injection engines are susceptible to carbon buildup. Remember your oil changes and to maintain sufficient oil in the system. And once in a while, road conditions permitting, accelerate by building high RPM. Don't think you're smarter than the engineers. If your car wants high octane gas, give it to it. This is critical if your car has a turbo. If you want to keep your turbo, never give it any other gas and drive it hard once in a while. If you don't, you should still stick with it, as the price difference will more likely than not make up for the fuel economy loss. Except in the long run you'll pay more for the long-term repairs. Former trainee mechanic here, so I'm open to correction. Slamming your car door too much can either damage the locking mechanism or latch, or occasionally cause the window to crack. Usually the window damage is limited to the trunk boot, if it hits something. Topping off the gasoline. If you keep pulling the handle and the auto shut off keeps stopping the fuel flow, you're doing it wrong. A lot of modern cars have emission systems and this act will put liquid gas in tubing that catches gas vapor. The liquid gas will destroy the sensors in that system and the check engine light will be about an evap sensor. I have a question for mechanics. Sometimes while driving my automatic, when I pull into an inclined driveway, I put it in park a little too soon and the car rocks back and forth on the parking pin, I presume. How badly is this f***ing up my transmission? Letting your turbo cool. Let the engine idle for a couple of minutes after highway or hard driving. Will increase its life massively. Especially modern turbo diesels. Riding your brakes. Tapping your brakes are okay to quickly lose a short burst of speed. And using them to smoothly slid into a stop is okay too, but what people do that I see all the time is use their brakes to bleed off speed they just 5 seconds ago accelerated to. Like they were at 45 then speed up to 55 and then rest their foot over their brake, and I see people with their brake light on more than off. It will wear down your brakes pretty close to twice as fast because you are keeping contact with them much more than needed. To bleed off speed, people need to learn to simply just remove their foot from the gas. Edit. Good God, fix my idiocy. Sorry for the horrible grammar lol. I wrote this in the super early morning after my child woke up for the 3rd time in the night. Little delusional. When you turn the car on, it's best to wait about 15 seconds before driving off. It usually takes about that long for oil to circulate. Two-footed driving. You don't realize you are dragging the brakes most of the time. This of course wears out the brakes quickly. It also warps the rotors. And greatly reduces gas mileage. Not to mention, brake lights constantly on. Means drivers behind you don't know if you're actually stopping. Very dangerous. Not cleaning your battery terminals will cause the acid to erode your battery cables. Pour some Coke on that shit to clean the acid buildup off. Use a terminal cleaner if you have one. Not letting turbos cool at idle a little before shutdown. Even stock vehicles need this. Especially if when you run the piss or of it. Which you know you do. Get a turbo timer. Lazy MacLeod. Also, I may be drunk. Get the coolant changes per service schedule and to specs. Just as important as oil changes. But often neglected. Leads to major holes in the pocket. Also, brake fluid should be changed as per schedule but rarely is. Don't hold your car still on a hill using your clutch. You'll wear it out a lot quicker. Use your brakes instead. Even if it's going to be a BTCH to hill start. Start an engine and rev it up hard immediately. Before the oil circulates and warms. Not changing the water pump and the bearings when doing a timing belt change to save money. Multiple short trips turning the engine off. Skip gearbox and differential oil changes. Rotors have relative issues due to poor care. Do not turn off the engine until it is up to temperature. Up to temperature. Take it up to high revs. When you stop, hold it at mid RPM for a few seconds, then whilst maintaining that RPM, turn off the engine. Doing this will increase the life of your RX3/RX4/RX7/RX8/Cosmo. Many people rev their car's engine before shutting it down. That's very bad. Even back in the days of carburetors, it didn't do much. Driving in Pennsylvania during the winter. We use extremely corrosive road salts and lots of it. So if you don't clean your car, especially the undercarriage, early and often after a snowfall, it will rust away. Letting a quick lube place do anything but an oil change to your car. We've had to do major engine overhauls, $2.7K, on several cars simply because their cheap oil change place was bored and thought they could change a timing belt. We've also seen them FCK up an oil change in ways I didn't know were possible. Overlooking other fluids and filters. Most people are good at changing their oil and putting fuel in their tanks, but mistakenly think that the oil and filter in their transmission is good for life. Don't forget about your fuel filter either and have your coolant tested regularly. Since winter is on the way, here is one most people never think about. When your tires are spinning in snow, and then they catch dry pavement, LF damage can occur. The wheels and CV shafts are basically going from 40 miles per hour to 0 real quick. One that comes to mind that I haven't seen in here is overfilling your gas tank. Modern cars have an evaporative emission system including a charcoal canister attached to the fuel tank. When you keep pumping after the pump stops you are just filling that charcoal canister, which in turn ruins the activated charcoal in it. Replacement can run $500 to $800 and is not covered by warranty on newer cars. Source: former AS certified tech and current service advisor who sells charcoal canisters to a lot of people because of this. It seems like a lot of people are mentioning that tire pressure is an important aspect when trying to keep a well-maintained vehicle. The notion of cold tire pressure should be mentioned here for the folks that probably don't understand the difference. Check your tire pressure before you have driven the vehicle. As the vehicle is driving, the tires are heating up due to friction with the road. The air pressure in the tires abides by the ideal gas laws. As the temperature increases, the pressure inside of the tires increases as well. So if a driver pulls into a gas station and checks their tire pressure, they are not getting a true reading on the pressure in their tires. The pressure you're seeing can be much higher than the cold tire pressure rating of the tire itself. So for each temperature drop of about 10 F, an average tire will seem to lose around 1 C. Conversely, for each 10 F increase in temperature, a tire will gain around 1 C. Just something to keep in mind when checking your tire pressure. Here's a small one. When you park on a hill, keep it in gear. Hold brakes. Pull parking gear. Then let go of brakes and put it in park. It puts the stress from sitting on a hill on your brakes and not your transmission, so when you go to leave it doesn't clunk into gear. Turning your wheel all the way to lock, or turning it while not moving, hurting your power steering pump and rack. Not using the parking brake while parked, especially on a hill. Keeping the car in place without it places a needed strain on the transmission. Stop your car. Pull the e-brake before the car starts rolling. Then let go of the brake. Considering the demographics of Reddit, it's exceedingly unlikely that most of these posts are from actual mechanics. Change your F-King ATF, people. The modern automatic transmission is more magic than a manual, and is another piece of heavy machinery in your vehicle that depends on fluid, your engine being the other. If you drive an automatic, change the fluid at the recommended service interval to prevent premature wear of the clutch pack's tiny wizards inside.